Good morning and welcome to all the members and participants, speaker, everyone. And I'm so happy. Probably this is the first program where we have a big multi-crowd. In the sense, usually we had a lot of listeners when Girish sir spoke, but they were basically from Kerala, settled in different places. But this is the first time that we are having so many audience from outside. We are indeed very happy and welcome everyone. In fact, our speaker, we got a lot of calls saying when is the speaker coming, can we have the link, etc. So Palakkad chapter is a very newly formed chapter, just few months old baby, and we've been doing series of programs, and I'm so happy as the chairman of the chapter that it is getting this much reach, and that we have a great speaker today. I request Sri Kumar sir, our active member, to introduce the speaker. I don't want to interview because they are good friends. And one more thing, throughout the session, we will keep the mic in the muted form. And after the session, you can ask direct questions, either picking up the mic one by one. If not, if it is you're not able to ask on the mic, you can even type. I'll read it out. So there are a good number of chats which are coming. But now, okay. So welcome all and good morning. And then over to Kumar sir for the introduction.
Okay, Thomas sir, am I audible to all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible. Please proceed, sir.
Okay, sir, it's my proud privilege today to introduce our Baburat sir, who really does not need much of an introduction. He's a very seasoned and what should I say, senior professional in the HR domain. He has been
Sir,
almost every sector of the industry, from textile, automobile, power, energy, plantation, you name it, media, digital platforms, everything. And when he was very young, he was an advisory board member with the Aga Khan International Foundation, which is itself a great honor. And as for the academic side, he has been associated with the Ross Business School in Michigan, the University of Michigan, and professors from Harvard University. Presently, he's a freelancing consultant with the P2B Consulting. And I understand he does consulting with startups in Dubai and a robotic company in Chennai. That means he's very modern in his outlook. And till recently, he was with the executive management team of the Hindu Group of Publishing, and then with the Rasi Group in Coimbatore and Aisha Volvo. So, and on the most importantly for us gathered over here, the real importance is that he is a transformational agent or a person who positively influences the organizations he has worked for and brings about a paradigm shift in the culture and work atmosphere of the organizations. Now, while talking to him yesterday, he just said one thing: please challenge me in whatever, the presentation will be like nothing we have seen before. It'll be a very special presentation, I promise you. What he said was, please challenge him. So we should use him as a sponge, to squeeze as much of his influence we can so that we all benefit. Now, there are senior people in the group, there are juniors. So, it's up to us to, get as much as possible from this senior professional. So, and on the personal side, he's been a well-wisher and a very good friend of mine. We stay very close by. And with that, I hand over the mic to Baburat sir. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Sri, and thank you, Thomas. And welcome to one and all. And extremely thankful for NIPM for inviting me for this webinar. I hope I am audible. No issues as far as things is concerned. And I look at, even after 30 years of experience, I always look at any of this process as a learning process. And therefore, I always believe that there is a need for us to learn from one another. So the more questions you ask, it does not mean that I need to have all the answers, but if the more questions you are going to ask, the more enriching it will be for me too. And that is why he has suggested that it should be better to challenge the questions, number one. Number two, when I'm talking about HR, for me, HR includes IR because I have handled multi-unions, multi-location, multi-industry, and employees with around 15,000 and plus from Reliance to Harrison Malayalam to other companies. And therefore, when I talk about HR, HR includes IR, and therefore question related to IR. And I have done some good work in IR also, IR in OD kind of a process. So some of the myths which we are having on IR, on a traditional IR perspective, can also be questioned here in case if the time permits. When I left as a CHRO group of the Hindu publications, I may be one of the highest paid professionals. So, but I thought that it is better for me to get out of the corporate world, try to do something which I believe I should do it. So last in July, I had left the Hindu group. Another 4 or 5 years I have with me, but still I thought it is better to leave it. And also to see how can I live without much huge compensation. And this COVID is helping me in another way. And the most critical thing for each one of us to realize is that how can we be innovative and flexible, and therefore we can learn much more. One of the basic fundamental aspect of my consultancy is to create actionable knowledge in the field of people management and not just an HR function. So during this 45 minutes time, which I will be speaking, and then it will be, the floor is open for, I have only made 4 or 5 slides and you can ask questions afterwards. What I'm going to cover is basically, there is nothing called the secrets of HR professionals. But then why did we, title it as secrets of HR professionals is that HR professionals knows most of the things through nowadays the WhatsApp and other perspectives are there. Too many information is flowing through, but there are not much transformational work or inputs which we have seen in HR field. In some of the workman level initiatives and innovatives which has been done by professionals have not come into light at all. And we have done quite a lot of work in that area also, countrywide. And interestingly, another interesting thing is that most of us, even today, whenever we are talking about the new, we are actually talking about the old perspectives, which is of 1900 to 1940, 1950, or even 1960, I will say. So after 1960, there is a lot of changes which has happened. There is a lot of people behavior, people processes, which has shifted, and learning from chemistry, learning from physics, learning from nature. But where are we utilizing this knowledge into the corporate world? And therefore, whether COVID or such kinds of an pandemic process is making us to rethink is a question. The third point which I want to impress upon during this webinar is that we as HR professionals in different parts of the country or in some pockets of the Kerala, we may be looking at HR function as the place where we are working. But the place we are working is only creates a boundary for us and need not help us to learn to be a future ready professional. And therefore, the choice is with us to decide whether we want to be really a future ready cutting edge HR professional, or we wanted to be in the context and comfortable in the area where we want. So during this process, I am trying to also question some of the aspects of this thought process. I hope people will pardon me for taking this liberty of questioning myself and the team members who are viewing this. So I am also going to use some of the acronyms which also the acronyms are used as a metaphor. And these metaphors are considered to be a very powerful tool for making us to be creative in our professional work. And so with that, I am starting my session. And the first slide which I have put it across for each one of you. I don't know how many of you are aware of this particular thing which I have put it across. Can anybody tell me what it is? One of you can not mute it, take it up and then speak to me.
Is it
What is
Anak
this?
leader? Insect called Anak leader.
Yeah, this is not an anecdotal insect, but it is definitely an insect. And this is a metaphor which I have created to explain on the pandemic. This is a insect. It's a sap-sucking insect. One of the most disastrous insect. It's called aphid, A-P-H-I-D, aphid. And aphids is considered to be one of the most devastative impact it can happen in the plant. It sucks the sap inside the plant. And why it is connected in this particular context is that, interestingly, aphids also transmit virus to another plant, and it is through the virus which actually it is creating discomfort. And the life cycle of aphids is 1 week to 40 days. When we talk about gestation period for the pandemic thing, also is very interesting. And the third important thing in this metaphor is that when aphids attacks, it's very difficult for us to get away out of it. Most of the times it destroys the plant. And it's very difficult for, it is not easy. Even if it is a integrated agriculture or biotechnological solutions are utilized, it will not help the plant because it also destroys other aspects of the plant, and therefore it gets killed. The plant gets destroyed. And the fourth important point on this is that one of the solutions which has been given is the soap. It is washing these leaves with mild soaps and clean it up. And that is why I have used this aphids as a metaphor for using this and also asking us the question on it. Now, when I look at it, pandemic in the world history or mankind, we can only connect it to one of the similar exercise, which is some exercise name, some of the big happening or event which has happened in 1918, which is called Spanish flu. Spanish flu, all of you know that now by WhatsApp and all these things, everybody knows that what is Spanish flu. But all of you also know that Spanish flu is not originated from Spain. Okay, it is 1918, and it is also January 1918, if my memory is right, and in the full year 1918, 1919, and 1920 end only it could be contained. And with the new technology, what we are talking about it, we may be able to manage the pandemic, and God forbid that it should not last long time because it has got catastrophic experience. But if this happens and the directions on what we have learned in 1918-20, interestingly, worldwide, including developing countries and developed countries like America, the studies very clearly states that even after we have learned, a lot of simulation studies has been done, we have not actually applied any of the learnings into our workplace or into the society. And the only way by which, if it continues, the only way it can manage and sustain the world around us is to working together. That means collaboratively working the society, the government, and the corporate. The society means the people. If three of these major constituents of a society as a totality, if these three things are not coming together with one mind, with one purpose, it becomes extremely difficult to manage. And we know that we as a society, we as a group of people, we are always looking at it from our life, our society, our people are only when it affects us. Before that, we don't do it. Similarly, when we talk about HR, only when it affects me, when the company is throwing me out, I have seen many senior professionals, vice president level, general manager level, coming and calling me at the age of 45, 50 years, telling me, sir, I don't have a job. What can I do? And when I look at the competency of the professional, it is either on one part of the HR or, and that one part of the HR itself is not very in-depth understood. And therefore, we need to ask a question, if we wanted to be a future-ready HR professional, are we ready to shift our paradigm? Are we ready to willing? Because there are enough learning opportunities. Only the choice, whether we wanted to go into the depth of the learning and shift ourselves, or we need to be comfortable. Recently, one of my friends told me it is around 60 years. He has worked as it's a good professional, done a good job in that company, left the company, and retired actually, and then continued as an advisor to the organization. Now, if that happens, why should he need to learn more? But there are few professionals, even after 60 plus, I have seen people wanted to learn, understand new perspectives, and share it with the learnings of others and create a knowledge base which is much beyond what an individual can have. So this entire presentation is kept keeping that in mind. The second metaphor is a tree. The new world of work is changing. Why a metaphor as a tree? A tree, as you know, is a living organism. And similarly, an organization also is a living organism. Number one. Number two, when you put a tree, you don't know what direction the tree leaves will grow. And you don't know which branch will move into which branch. And you also will not be knowing which leaves will on its own will after some time will moves out, or we need to pluck it. In some of the cases, if you look at the tea leaves or other leaves or some leaves, we need to pluck the leaves or pluck the a particular stem, this one, for the tree to grow. So therefore, and if that does not happen, it will be a big issue. The third point, as far as the metaphor of the new world of work, is that today, when you talk about productivity in the plant, as in agriculture, or in the corporate world, we talk about technology. There is a new technology called hydroponic, which is actually without soil. Actually, soil is a solution which is actually without much water, it can grow. So, but it has got different types of, it's just not for everything, hydroponic cannot be utilized. But as you know, for tilling, for harvesting, for everything, there are a lot of, and especially in COVID time, many of the people are not there, migrant laborers are not there. It is actually many of the harvesting is taking place through mechanization. So when you are talking about productive, when you're talking about hybrids, when you're talking about genetically modified, there are plus and negative side of genetic, because I have worked in a company which is a molecular based company, so I know that there are plus points as well as negative side. So therefore, all these things are critical for making the plant to grow. And similarly, the organization also need to understand and appreciate the world around us. That means like the leaves, it will be, the workplace will be different. The way in which it will grow will be different. We do not know. It has to be defined. And the roots, which is expected to provide the support to the organization, that is the environment, the global environment, which will also behave differently because of the soil, the geographical, the fertility of the land, the water availability, and therefore the roots itself can also, which is the most fundamental reason for the plant to grow. Similarly, in an organizational context, it is extremely important for us to know that, and many things which is not quote unquote available for decision making, we need to be contextually imaginative. Now, contextually imaginative is something which is not easy to come. There's a book called Gareth Morgan, I think it's the name of the individual. He has written a book called Imaginization, not imagination, Imaginization. And this book is a very interesting book which talks about how do we use metaphors and other perspectives on tools of creative tools which can be utilized differently. So when you are each context, supposing that I have worked in X company, which is that I have worked in engineering, I worked in media, I worked in, assuming that I have done excellent work in one of the industries, and I wanted to use it in a media industry, it will not work. So as a senior professional, when you are growing up, or as a junior professional, when you are growing up, how do you ensure the portability of the knowledge which you are creating in one context and can be utilized for the another context effectively, sustainably? Taking a decision is not an issue, but how do you use it sustainably is one of the most critical things. And therefore, I have used a tree as a metaphor. And coming from this, we are talking about it an organization, and also we are talking about how this pandemic and the changing organizational world is affecting or would affect an organization. I have connected it to the crop, affecting the crop. Now, in an agricultural land, when you are talking about it, if there is no water, and if the insects are going to be, affecting this one, it affects the fertility of the land, because it becomes very difficult, because more quick fix solutions like pesticides will be utilized to ensure that immediate thing is happening, and ultimately the land becomes non-fertile for the crop to grow, or some other crop has to be developed, and that impacts the farmer because the cash flow gets impacted. And ultimately, that farmer gets moved from a rural world to an urban world to sustain and do something. Many places of the country, in the world, there are many people, very middle class guys, but having 10 acres, 15 acres land, which is not at all useful in India. And when you use the same metaphor in an organization, I have used, that is why I have used the acronym called CROP. Today, pandemic, if it continues, and even the last 3 months of impact, it can impact the cash flow, it can impact the revenue, that means declining business growth, and it affects the profitability. It can affect very heavily on the operational efficiency, because people have not thought through. Even today, when I look at the WhatsApp messages, we are still talking about immediate solutions to address it after, what happens if lockdown is over, what will happen, what has to be done. We are not looking at from a macroeconomic perspective of the country, of the society, of the people around us. We cannot sustain just looking at my company, my this one, and then deliver it something. It's not going to help us when you wanted to grow, or at least sustain during this period of time. And the latestly somebody was talking about it is that, TCS has done something, and therefore there is a need for us to look at things differently.
Yes, this is Vinod. Yes, we have created a work from home policy for our employees, but that was not just for this COVID. We had this practice around 2 years ago, and we had senior employees.
Extremely sorry for making you people wait, and all of a sudden there is some IT system connection discomfort which has happened. So my apologies to each one of you for making you to wait for that, first of all. Hello.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, and please share your video.
I'm extremely sorry for making you people wait, and let me connect it back.
We are excited to listen to you, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Thomas, shall I continue, or?
Sir, after this, probably.
And therefore, the question which we need to ask is that, should we focus on ourselves, our feedback, our experience, or should we look at our customers? Most of our HR professionals perspective is built around us, our context, and our people. We are sometimes, our best friends will also not critically look at us. If one of my best friend tell me, Babraj, you have to improve on this area, I feel he is offending me. And therefore, I'm not expected to, who will then speak to me candidly and help me to reflect myself. And therefore, is it okay for me, like what the picture which you can see that, is it okay for me, somebody who will never disagree with me? Is it going to help me? And where do I need to focus? So in this context, the only way by which the first and foremost thing is that we need to reboot. Reboot is another acronym as well as this one, reboot our function. So I talked about AFID as a metaphor. Then I talked about organization, a living tree as a metaphor for an organization and how it is impacting. And then I talked about agriculture land as a crop, which is an acronym which is affecting the organization's important things like a crop, the cash flow, the revenue, the productivity of the operations, and the productivity of the employees and operations. And when we talk about rebooting, I had an opportunity to listen to one of the Michigan University professor who has trained me on customer sensitive HR professionals and strategic HR. And at that time, almost 10 years back, when I learned it, I actually scoffed at the professor, but since internally, not externally, but inside my head, I said that, you know, what is this customer specific HR and all these things? It's a bullshit. We cannot make it happen in the organization. And it took me almost 2 to 3 years of working in that direction to understand how HR can be reboot. It can be rewired. So there is one way. So there is a need for us to redefine, understand the purpose. What I mean to say is that most of us, for example, let us talk about training and development. There is a need for us to repurpose each of our sub-functions and with a focus on the customers. What is the internal customer's needs? What is the external customers required? If we are talking about HR as a function with a focus on the people for which we are, our purpose of the function itself is for the people, are we developing our process and systems for developing people within the organization? Managing people and development people is totally two different words. I'm not playing with words. So the second point is that, can you create experience? Are you creating experience in all the aspect of people management? Because when I'm talking about the millennials or generation Z, it is totally different from the expectations and experience of a baby boomers. So how do if I have, for example, in Hindu, we had baby boomers as a separate, if you talk about average age of one of the business unit was around 50 years, 45 to 50 years. And another group of the business unit, the average age was only 28 years. Now, how do I build an HR process which is going to create an experience? Youngsters wanted to be capable of experimenting new ideas, new perspectives. So can my organization create a platform for them to learn and improve? And what is the role of HR? And therefore, the more the individual is going to take ownership of their actions, they are going to be more productive than just by doing employee engagement or some games and all these things. So we are looking at a transactional perspective of an HR. The third point is that we need to build a brand. Each of our IR, whether it is an employee engagement, whether it is a trend, are we creating a metaphor? Are we building a brand within us and also for articulating others? And for us also to refocus ourselves on what we are and why we are doing what we are. The fourth important point, consistently focus on outcome. It is very sad to say, even when you look at an appraisal process and a goal setting, which is, many people think that they know, but when you look at the goal setting process itself, you will know everything is not outcome focused. Some of them at the senior level, they do not even know that how to set a goal. And we are also not the professionals capable of taking a stand for our senior management. If our senior management is not doing very well, can we take a stand? It's $1 million question. And it's not for Indian companies. Recently, when Indira Nui, the Indian CEO of Pepsi, when she moved out, one of the questions which was asked for her was that what is a regret which she had? So she said that I should have fired some of the senior people whom I have not done. So in one of the videos you can see. So there is a need for us to re-understand, refocus, and communicate this into the organization. And larger focus on organization. Training and development is passé, it's gone. can I focus on organizational capability and then bring down and the training and development for that? So it is training and development is not an outcome per se. Building organizational capability is my outcome. So the moment you focus on organizational capability, the entire focus will shift from what is that which is required for the organization to build tomorrow, not today. And therefore, what capability is required at different levels, different people. And is there any ownership of these changes from the organization? And the sixth point, which is most critical, leveraging technology effectively. Unfortunately, we are talking about technology. We know technology, or we use the help of somebody outside, an external person, or an IT department to support us. I have seen in very senior level or junior level, we do not know how to connect, reconnect, and sometimes on the phone also, on a webinar or something like that happens. So can we learn? It is not that we should learn everything, but if I am getting into the detailing, can I go into the detailing of that and learn better? Can I take a decision on a technology tool which is useful for the people in a different manner, rather than allowing the finance guy or the IT guy to take a decision on my functional expertise, my area? So my role becomes more suggestive rather than influencing. So in this context, when the organization world around us is changing, and the organization is going to have a larger impact because of the, like what I said, it affects the crop. You have to take a decision to reboot yourself. You have to put the button to restart it. There are two types of rebooting. One is warm booting, cold booting. There are technological terms. But in both the cases, you have to take a conscious decision to reboot. So that choice is yours. But there is no other choice except to reboot. Reboot in these parameters. You need to do that. And HR professional has to change for future building. Then he has to reframe. He has to first ask a question, why should I do what I am doing? Not what I am doing. And where I have to go. Vision, if you look at it, is where I want to go. But why you wanted to go where? That means the purpose. So you have to build a future-ready organization. Now, when you say reframe, the first and most important thing is a reflection. There are 7 or 8 steps in the process of reflection. Each one is critical to say that we are good in reflection. Reflection helps us to appreciate. Reflection helps us to understand others' thought process and relate to it. The second and most important thing is emotional quotient. Everybody knows that. Third important thing is that, do we have the flexibility? Do we have the flexibility in our function? Can I use my knowledge in different elements? Different organization, different context, am I finding it difficult to manage? Or can I deliver results and influence the management? The most critical thing is that, am I capable of influencing my top manager? No boss, unless a sadistic guy, no boss wanted a good performer to go from his team. He's willing to listen to that good performer. And therefore, the fourth point of responsiveness is critical. Being responding, or am I reacting? Reacting means acting without thoughts. Responding means that I am thinking, reflecting, taking cognizance of other perspectives, looking at my context, influencing, involving people, and then responding. And the fifth point is articulation. Am I good in articulation in my language, that is my local language? Whether it is, am I good in national language? Otherwise, supposing I am a Palghat guy, I am a Cochin guy, I don't want to get out of Kochi. I don't want to get out of, I am limiting myself. If I'm limiting myself, my knowledge becomes limited. So whether do we wanted to go with that is a choice which we need to exercise. The seventh point, the sixth point, which I always say, but many of us miss, is that health. That is mind, body, and soul. Therefore, it is very critical for us to know that we need to look at, and when you are talking about employee engagement, when you're talking about health, we need to look at health not only for employees, it is also connected to the families, which is more encompassing the entire society, which is a so smaller society. Need not be looking at the entire society. It will be extremely difficult for us to influence the entire society. But at least my employees and my families, we do it some occasional yoga, occasional exercises. Some in one company where there is all of a sudden they need a gym, and we created a gym. Except after first week, except for the next 1 year, that gym was only 4 to 5 people. So some of these things, when we do it, why are we doing it? Is it because MDs told us, or is it because there is any ownership by the people who are going to use it, or is it really required? And can I make it customized? Can I make it a micro level? Can I create an experience? And the last, most important of a reframe, can I be experimental? Now, if you are not a reflective, if you are not flexible, if you are not responsive, if you cannot articulate and influence the company or the people around you, you cannot be experimental. If you are not conceptually good in your function, you cannot be experimental. You will not be able to take risk. Risk taking is very critical in the element of creativity. But if you want to take risk, if you want to take a stand with your team, with your influencers, you should be thorough in your area of specialization. That is your choice. But when you decide that this is my area of specialization, better to be the best, at least the top best guys in that particular field. Willingness to learn and unlearn and learn and unlearn continuously. None of us can say we are perfect and we are the great guys. No. That's why I said that 1900 to 1960, we are actually learning. 1960 onwards, there are many learnings which we had. One of the things which I have used in this called a biomimicry. That means learning from, that is the first slide with the aphids which I used, learning from the nature. There's a new science which is coming, and the sociologists and psychologists are reutilizing it. Similarly, on how economy can be utilizing, how finance can be for defining HR functions. Whatever I have spoken, I have implemented in multiple companies, and therefore I am speaking from a perspective of actionating on this thought process. And I believe that only by doing this, we will be able to get paid more, because we will be seen as a value adding professional to the board functional team. And therefore, we need to be a stakeholder rather than an onlooker if you really wanted to make it happen. So going forward, if you really wanted to be you need to clasp, hold hands. Of clasping means holding hands on one, but I am actually expanding it to say that add with other people. Leverage technology, assimilate knowledge, challenge the status quo, and synergize the purpose. And that is important. Until and unless you collaborate with the purpose, tomorrow you cannot be a better professional. We presume that, so learning from one another, continuously trying to experiment and learn to understand from anybody, anything which can help you to do a better professional will be the right mechanism and way of moving forward. Ask any questions which you want to ask, and therefore we can expand on the perspectives and thoughts which I have shared. And last, the final slide which I want to say, leave the ego, connect to the people around us. Without keeping the ego, we can learn better, grow better, and most important, we can add value to the society, value to the people around us, value to the organization. We will feel proud, and we will feel we are wanted, we are needed in that organization, and that creates a sense of fulfillment for each one of us. Thank you very much. Now I am with asking all kinds of questions from each one of you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. It was a very simple and yet we covered a lot of ground in this. Very introspective. I just had one question. You mentioned in the reframe thing, you spoke about the experimental aspect where as HR, we should be able to take those risks for creativity. So from your experience and with so many of these organizations, could you tell us what was one of those biggest risks and what was the challenge you faced in terms of convincing the leadership out there, and still what you went ahead and what was the the result of the whole thing?
Yeah, very good question, Gauri, and thank you for asking this question. And two things, very simple two things. There was no need for me to influence the management. Most important thing is that go with the data. There is enough data in an organization. So go with the data to talk to the manager, stakeholders. I'm talking to this one. Any context, I have ensured that I am being firm, fair, I am being transparent. This I have utilized when there was a need to pay compensation when there was no fund in the organization. So, and these two place things, if you can, one is data, and the second one is the being firm, being transparent, and being fair in all your accepts of discussions with the management.
So there is an appreciation from MS Srigumar sir, and there's a question from Pondure. Another is
Please.
Kindly explain the reflection quotient, please.
Yeah, reflection quotient is nothing but an ability to. There are 8 steps in when you talk about reflection. Number 1, our ability to accept failures. Are we ready to accept failures? Number 2, are we willing to listen to others? Now, most of us say we are listening, but we don't actively listen to the thought process. And people like Girish and others can definitely vouch. If you listen to the workmen or the union members, most of our issues can be sorted out. Most of them, there can be ticklish issues which can be coming up. But most of us, most of the very good IR professionals are also very good listeners. So number 2. Number 3 is that our willing to explore new ideas, new perspectives. Number 4 is that we are willing to share whatever learning which we had. So like that, there are 8 steps in the reflection. So only when these 8 steps which we do it systematically, we can really say that we have a higher reflection quotient. But one of the aspects only we take it up and say that we are reflecting. Actually, we are utilizing words differently. We are thinking means a reflection. Thinking is not reflection. That is what I wanted to differentiate. Yeah, Sri, thank you for asking that question.
So this is Prem Ras.
Yeah, Prem.
So I had the privilege of working with Bharat sir, and so we have very exciting times. And so one question which has come all the way from all the experience that we had is that typically there is a wall that happens when you're trying to do your best for your organization and also for the employees. There are times in your career that you feel that the pull on either side is stronger. Okay, so we do not know what.
Yeah, from my experience, what do you want to explain?
So my question is, as a HR professional, you have an organization on one side and you have the employees on the other side, right? The people on the other side. So there are times when, when there is a decision to be taken, whether you should be tilting towards the organization for a decision or tilting towards the people's connect for a decision. So there are times like that. So on such occasions, because we have youngsters here, we have people with a lot of experience here. So what is that which you kept in your mind, which helped you take that decision? There must be something, that says, okay, for this, I fall back on this to take that decision.
Yeah, thanks, Prem, for asking this question. For me, organization includes everybody, including board. For me, organization comes first. For me, if the organization, if I take a stand on anything, it impacts the organization because it is a living organism. People are part of it. So as far as the organizational well-being is taken care, I take that decision and stand for it. That is how I go about it. I don't differentiate whether I want to take a stand with the chairman or MD. I was always known for being an outspoken guy in the boardrooms. I always take a stand, keeping the organizational interest. So there is no confusion or ambiguity in my mind. Next.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The next question is from Mr. Vinod Narayanan from Trivandrum. Could you please elaborate more on organization capability building and its difference between training and development?
Training and development. Not easy question to answer at such a short period of time. I will generally talk about it. Whenever we talk about training and development, we have a training calendar, needs analysis. What we do is that we look at the appraisal process, try to find out what is required, try to convert that TNI into this. Now, what I'm saying is that don't go with that perspective. Try to look at from the board and try to understand the business first. And say that if for that business, for example, if I am a traditional company and if I wanted to, the only way to grow is that make that traditional company into a digital organization. And therefore my entire workforce, entire wiring, entire systems has to change in next 3-4 years time. Otherwise the market will not help me to sustain. If that is required, create a focus there because you can create a value proposition there than talking about employees. And then there is one of the articles, star performers. It's a myth. Star performers worldwide data, because most of my work is based on multiple research which has been done worldwide companies. It says that the portability of talent is better in women than men. But it's a fact. But if you look at it, the worldwide places, most of the places we say the boardroom should have women, but worldwide, if you see, the number of people are less. But wherever they are, they have delivered result better than sustainable, and they delivered, and they sustained in the organization. And the organizational capability, when I'm talking about it, the budgeting process becomes very critical, very clear, and development, training is development is an outcome. Now, development of what? Development of people. Now, developing people, is it going to help the organization? Question mark. Many people question mark, put a question mark. So the entire process has to be rewired to focus on the organizational capability and take the ownership of the functional head who wanted to build that capability in the organization. Not just doing HR responsibility. It is not just an HR responsibility. It would be to facilitate the thought process and influence the organization in building capability. Yeah. Next.
Thank you, sir. And Govind sir has asked the question, like in the process of stakeholder from an onlooker, how can or how much influence HR can contribute?
Very much. The point is that the question is that am I going to be a stakeholder or am I an onlooker?
Onlooker, yeah.
Okay. If I am an onlooker, I am an onlooker. I have to wait for the boss to say what it is. In one of the companies, you know, not only what I have, one of the companies, the chairman said that there is no uniform required. Now, what happened was that on August 15, the employees decided to create a uniform because of some training process which has been initiated. They shifted their, and they put best clothes. Even the employer may not give that kind of a cloth. They spend money. They made it happen. And I was there deliberately, immediately influenced them because they were talking about cost. So I ensured that this process has been done. And I stood along with the chairman for the flag hosting. So he was very happy to see these people in a, particular uniform process. I asked who has done it. I said they did it. Within 1 week, I got the, this one saying that, give it to everybody and pay back the money which has been paid. So there are multiple ways. Decision is to be an onlooker, and that is at the lowest level. I can get into a highly strategic level decisions where the board does not, the MD and I wanted to do it, or the CFO want to do it, and we three together has influenced the board. So there are multiple, we can talk about it in offline. You can always talk to me. I can share my knowledge. And I'm sure that many of the other colleagues who are there along in this group, many good incidents. The decision is that whether we want to be a stakeholder or we want to be an onlooker.
The next question is from a manufacturing side. After COVID or with COVID for a minimum of period of 1 year, so HR professional need to more concentrate on general administration or core HR?
See, this question, we always say that. Let me ask you that if there are no, in a table, if you look at a table, or, if there are no legs, can we call it as a table?
Yeah.
Most of this administration can be automatized. And if you automatize that area, then do I have the knowledge to work on the core area? I do not have the knowledge of working in the core area. And therefore, what will happen to me? Then what I will do, my comfort is in administration. I will continue to spend my time on the administration. With the technological advent, and if this kinds of work from home can come in, there is a possibility of relooking at these things. That is why I said that one of the areas for the HR functional itself is leveraging technology effectively. Not just leveraging technology with somebody else's, but you must have, individual must have the knowledge on end to end. For example, SAP HR. SAP HR is there, but can you as an HR professional can end to end conceptualize, process oriented, and build a new HR process? That it is not necessary that everywhere you need to have, but do you have that knowledge? And can you build it up? If it is not required for the company, then you have time to build it up. And so for me, administration is the lowest level of thing, but it is critical and not get into in one of the visioning exercise which I have done for a national in Hyderabad, National Institute. After 2.5 days of workshop, they were still worried about administration issues, not a visioning of processes. So administration issues, if it is not being done effectively, it's a thankless job, but can create a huge problem in the organization. And therefore, it is also critical. It is also important. But do we need to spend that much time? That is the most important thing. Where do I need to focus? That need to be questioned and understood.
Thank you, sir. And there's a question from the Somaji, sir. Please, Somaji.
Sir, it was a very good talk.
Somaji sir was waiting. Yes, tell me.
It was a good presentation with a simple metaphor, and it's a good learning. And it's one particular slide you actually reflected and brought all of us into the entire HR fulcrum, complete angle of HR. So one or two areas where you did expand on reflection. You can forward that detail about that 8 elements.
Yeah, definitely. Just to send a mail, or I have your phone number, so I can easily send it.
Okay. And the second is on the CLASP. When you talked about the customer, actually it was not really big visible. And could you explain that little bit? And also
which one? CLASP.
Customer focus and leverage. And
CLASP is nothing but the C stands for customer focus, consistently focus on customer. L stands for leveraging technology. That means how do you leverage technology? Not for what the company is expecting today, but for tomorrow. That means, can I do that? The third one is assimilation of knowledge. That is CLA. Assimilation means appreciation of understanding is different from assimilation. Assimilation, as so each one of you, the word has got a better focus than absorption or analysis. Assimilation means keeping your thoughts in abeyance, taking for Somaji is speaking something, or Thomas is speaking something, Nishant is speaking, Prem is speaking, Girish is saying something. I am listening to that without creating any judgments. Then I am inside my head, I am sieving it and then convert it into a knowledge. That is, assimilation is a process of making it as a residue wisdom.
Okay.
So that is important rather than just, converting or listening to something and leaving it. Actually, one of the questions which a Trivandrum gentleman has asked me, even the definition of learning itself has to be redefined. When you say learning, we always say learning means, understanding something and applying. That is it. But learning means, if I am talking about learning, learning is not just understanding and applying. But if I am applying something, how it is affecting my customers is equally important. If I learn something and if I use it at home and my family or children are not appreciating that, what is the purpose of learning?
Correct.
So ultimately
also the unlearning also.
That's right. That is part and parcel of it. So unlearn. So when we define the learning in that perspective, only the unlearning can take place. Like as I told you, 10 years back, when somebody talked to me, I was not very comfortable with that. But when I got an opportunity, I started trying to look. Even with, I always say that I am a pessimistic, optimistic guy. So I always look at things pessimistic first, and then look at the optimistic aspects of whatever I can do. And therefore, the learning becomes much more meaningful to me or to the people around us. Meaning to me does not make sense, because I can always say it is meaningful to me. But is other people are appreciating it? If there is no appreciation of that, there's no meaning.
What is the other one? S and P class.
Yeah, S stands for synergy, status quo. Challenge the status quo continuously. That I have talked about experiment. If you wanted to experiment in the reframe, the last point is experimental as far as the competency is concerned.
Correct.
So you cannot question the status quo unless you are ready for experimenting, ready to take risk, ready to be innovative. And the last one, P, is that synergize the purpose. That is, each organization has got a purpose of why they are existing. Worldwide, latest study in 2019, July or August, worldwide leaders came together in, I think in New Jersey, or today New Jersey, New York, we could not say because of the COVID impact. But there were professionals who have come and they started talking about purpose. And the latest, why purpose? Purpose talks about beyond the visioning. And the purpose talks about, there is a book called the Chrysalis Economy. In the Chrysalis Economy, it talks about triple bottom line. It is not, that means it talks about 3 P's: planet, profit, and people. So that means society and the employees and the world around us. So it is important, we need to look at larger perspectives, whether it is COVID or not COVID. And COVID is only making us to think it in a faster pace. And as usual, as I told you, as I started with saying that whether when there's a crisis happens, we all come together, try to find.
Okay. And one more thing to again complementing that, you have put a picture on ego, and the next one is also ego. Whether it is a ego,
not ego, it is eco.
Economy.
Or ecology.
Not economy, ecology.
Ecology.
It is ecology. Yeah, okay. It is ego and ecology.
What is that picture depicts?
Ecology.
Some black
ego, it is a plant, insects and everything. The ecology means everything, all living in the nature.
Okay.
And they are all round. They are all staying together.
They are all together. They are all seemingly working together. There is no ego. It is all seamlessly working together. So there is enough study which is on, called what I call it as an octopus model. There is something which I am now developing, something called an octopus model of developing organization.
Excellent, sir. Thank you very much. I am actively listening.
Oh, it's so nice of you, sir. Thank you.
There are more questions, but you've been teaching in IEM Shillong. There's a question from a student. For fresh HR professionals, what would you suggest, sir? To work revamping or follow the pre-COVID process?
Just reframe yourself. Ask a question, where do I need to go? Why should I go to it? Should I become really future-ready HR professional? And am I just, don't worry about anything. Just ask yourself whether whatever be the context, can I add value? And if I can add value, my customers, whichever context I am working, whether it is an NGO, whether it is a government, whether it is a different industries, because I have worked in agriculture, I worked in different types of agriculture, I worked in different types of engineering, in different states, I find that wherever it is, and like what Prem was asking that question, there can be challenge, there can be stress. Wherever I have worked, there are a lot of stress which I create. And it is not because I as an individual is creating, it is because if there is a need for change and if you need to push it, and if you need to influence it, everybody will not be able to, you cannot influence everybody in the entire process to make it happen. So your belief and your conviction and your fairness in what you are doing is most critical.
Great,
Yeah.
sir. There are some more questions, but Secretary Mohandas sir wanted, your friend wanted a question.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Please.
Nice going. Thank you.
Mohan, please. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Sir, I have a simple question in my mind.
Yeah.
Post, after the COVID-19,
Yeah.
see, there are the skill set and the competency which required is getting changed or getting changed. So my question is, what is the scope of HR professional in future? Whether the number of HR professional will be added in the organization? A simple thought I just want to ask.
Dear friend, unfortunately, we wanted to differentiate post-COVID, COVID. See, COVID is what? It is nothing but a pandemic which is going to disrupt, if it continues, it is going to disrupt the entire economy and the lives of us. So the way in which we are living, not lives of us, the way in which we are living. So the approach is different. So I don't differentiate post-COVID, COVID and all these things. I ask only, and it is, unfortunately, we are talking about HR only. It is not HR. Any functional guy, whether I am a CA, there are so many CAs who are useless. There are so many HR guys may not be ineffective. I'm sorry to use the word useless. My regret, my apology for using that. And ineffective. I can't say no, anybody cannot, I can't say that people are useless, but they can be ineffective. And why they are ineffective? Because they are not adding value for the context in which they are looking at it. So HR people who are not adding value, but for example, in this world, there is like a continuum. All companies are not progressive. So since all companies are not progressive, there are some companies who are the lowest level, there will be some professionals will be required and they will continue traditional. So assuming that because of, in the last year, I was invited to speak on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence does not mean that tomorrow onwards, everybody will be on artificial intelligence. Where is the data? Many companies where there is a data possible, even in large organization, employees data is not full in its entirety. So until and unless you have data points which is meaningful, artificial intelligence, you cannot implement it. And you can convert. So all these things are depending on how you look at it and how the organization is looking at it. I will not say HR is going any function, sales function, any function. If that individual is not adding value, after a particular period of time, when there is a pressure, the individual will not find it extremely difficult to work and grow. Then he will have this frustration, he will have depression, all kinds of things, which is our make. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, sir. There are other post-COVID questions also, but I would ask one different question is elaborate more on HR leverage technology.
Yeah. See, what I mean is that supposing that we have to do an enterprise level HR process. Okay. Now, enterprise level HR process, first thing what I will do, I will ask in WhatsApp that how many companies are using Zing HR, how many companies are using PeopleSoft, how many companies are using SAP HR. And then I will collate all this data and present it to the IT guy. IT guy will talk about it. And none of this actually SAP HR, some companies who are using it afterwards because of the prohibitive cost. So the first and foremost thing is that, do you know what is expected of the technology today and tomorrow? Can you take a stand with the management that what is required and where, what phase which you will deliver? That means until and unless you are conceptually good in your subject area, it will be extremely difficult for you to influence your, take a decision on or leverage technology. If you are conceptually good and an appreciation of technology is there, you can learn and understand and take decisions, not leaving the decision to the IT guy or the finance guy. Even when there is a cost, how many of us do a cost benefit analysis, which will be really required for tomorrow? So leveraging technology effectively, I have used the word effectively, means the individual HR professional should have the knowledge and ability to look at it from an end to end and take a decision which is meaningful and purposeful for the people around him, not for just because somebody has told him that this is good and therefore it has to be implemented. Is it clear?
Yeah, this is Jaidev Singh Jolly. May I ask a question, please?
Yeah, please, Jaidev. Kaise ho?
Bahut badhiya, sir. I am calling from Delhi NCR.
Oh, great, great, great.
And I attended your program almost a decade ago.
Oh, so nice to get connected, Jaidev. So nice of you. Tell me, Jaidev.
See, I have been working after almost 17 years in the corporate, I started working as business coach for MSME sector, medium, small and medium, small sector in Delhi NCR region.
Oh, very
years
good.
ago.
Very good.
Now, post-COVID, what I am now suggesting to my clients through webinar, and please endorse whether I'm right or not, is
please
how to go to extreme lean manufacturing and how to go to extreme productivity measures. So would you like to give some insights? What insight I should give them, practical insights? Extreme cost cutting, because for the next 1 year, I don't see profitability anywhere in the sector.
Okay, and very interesting question, Jaidev. And there is a lot of work which can be done in MSME. If MSME can be understood and influence, how people management is going to be critical for them. If they understand that there is a good business and good opportunity, please continue to do it. But I have created a new terminology which is not available in Google, which is called organizational obesity.
Right.
Okay. So when supposing I am a lean guy, supposing I am trying to make it very lean, then I am known as I am known as an malnutrition, or maybe I am not I cannot survive. So extreme cost cutting, you focus on waste reduction, not cost reduction. Cost reduction is totally different from waste reduction. So focus on waste reduction, continuously focus on waste reduction, but not on cost reduction, because the terminology of cost reduction can impact the organization, especially in a manufacturing company. It can impact, because this year to get a Six Sigma or blah, 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 we try to do something. Maybe a plastic is used and say that, plastic is better than aluminum. So that is used. And the plastic model, when you go to the market, it does not last for a long time. More customer complaints on product comes and the product sales goes down. Sales becomes difficult. So then after some time, so this year everybody, gives a ताली देता है. उसके बाद next year में जाएगा तो उसको बोलता है यार तुम aluminum लेके आओ वापस. So when you look at it, you have to be very clear what you really wanted to do for that company, what is their affordability, and then develop the organizational as a healthy organization. So I don't look at it extreme cases. I look at that if X organization, whether it is a service organization, whether it is an IT organization, or where I'm doing a startup company for in Dubai, what is important is that can I actually create a healthy organization for tomorrow? So for healthy organization, value adding process is important, value adding people are important. For example, I will tell you, All the people are not required to be in the office to run your job. Okay. For example, in a robotic company, yesterday I was talking to somebody. The content writers, he said that content writers are critical for doing some syllabus. But content writers, you can do a freelancing. You don't need to be an employee of content writer. So you need to process map the entire thing and then decide where you can reduce when.
So I was actually sharing, sorry, when you were disconnected, I was sharing what I suggested to my customers. I only conducted a webinar for all the SMEs in this zone, Dehradun, MSMEs in the Dehradun zone. They have an association there. So I suggested that instead of having individual deal with the, should I unmute? Video should also be available, yeah. Instead of having dealing with just one logistic company, one company will have deal with one logistic company. If you make a cluster and then negotiate with very big logistics companies, you can actually reduce your cost during negotiation itself by 5 to 10% per annum.
Absolutely true. If you send me your
Number
email ID.
Sir, let me complete. Number two, I suggested that as even big companies like Mahindra and Mahindra has just negotiated with their labor that we want to reduce your pay cuts, please take the pay cuts. We will not jump anybody out, but please take pay cuts for at least 1 year. And if the environment improves in the next financial year, we will consider your current salary of this financial year for your appraisals.
Quite true.
I have suggested that you should also negotiate with your employees, but please spare those employees who are getting less than 15,000 per month. But above that, you can always negotiate. Please take pay cuts of 5 to 10%. Third, I have suggested to them is that please look at micro level your electricity. If there are three, let us say, tube lights in one production area, if one can be reduced, you can actually over a period of 6 months again save 5 to 6 lakh rupees. Very small company. So these were some suggestions I gave them.
I will start with the third one first. It is connected to Thomas George's question of leveraging technology. What I'm saying, it is available in the country and abroad, and it's not very costly to implement it.
Great.
What Jayadev said, number one. So it is a very good, valid point what Jayadev said. Second thing, what he has talked about the people. There are actually not only this, there are multiple things. Actually, one of the things which he has done, I have done it even before COVID. That is why post-COVID, you don't need to, because the organization can become bad or good in any time. No need not be only COVID. So it is important that people need to discuss, deliberate very clearly and do that. In my article, which has been posted in LinkedIn, I have very clearly, it's all business process post-COVID. I have very clearly said what he has said to the logistic thing. Not only logistic, MSME, whichever industry is there, the entire value chain has to work coming together and address this issue for at least for next year. So there is only a collaborative environment can help them to sustain the organization. And Jaydev, so all the 3 points, what you said is right. But the only thing is that tweak it a little more larger perspective. That's all. Nothing else.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. There are many more questions, but probably, sir, is it possible to give your contact, either email or?
Yeah, my email ID is given in the last slide. That will be hr.com. That means searching the soul of HR. That is why soulsearchhr.com. Okay. P2B means. Yeah, P2B at soulsearchhr.com, and my phone number is 770-816-770-816-3366.
Okay, I have typed it, sir, and Srikumar sir also helped me.
Anybody who has any questions, they can either, it is preferably they can write it to me on my P2B soulsearchhr.com. It will help me to write it with a little more, and if not understood, they can call me at a time which is convenient to both of us.
Thank you so much, sir, because the more and the voice is jarring in between. So
in between there was some problem again as usual.
Yeah, I know. So let's thank you so much. Let's call it a day. Over to Mohandas, Secretary, for the vote of thanks.
Baburaj Nair sir, it is so privileged for us. Palakkad NIPM chapter is very new. actually newborn baby, only 2-month-old. So in this early stage, we can conduct, a program with you means it's really making us very happy. And if you see the participants from across the country and all the senior persons like Giri sir, Soma Sajeevan sir, Vinod sir from Trivandrum. So it's making us more, motivating us to conduct such programs. Connection with Bhavarajan Nair sir is actually 11 years old for me. When I went to this profession, I think I'm a very fresher at that time. I applied for a post in, HML. And my last round, the third round was with Bhavarajan Nair sir in 2009, November, if my memory is correct.
Yeah.
And Bhavarajan Nair sir actually welcomed me in his cabin with offering a chocolate. I was so nervous at that time, attending an interview first time and, reaching in a final round and meeting the head HR of the organization. And Bhavarajan Nair sir was, offered me a chocolate. And so he made me, feel free to talk with him. Then we proceeded the interview. So it was very touching memory for me. And after that, I began my career in HML, and last for almost 4 years I was there in HML. So yes, I'm just recalling my memory with Bhavarajan Nair sir. After that, in between we had a chat in the WhatsApp and all. He was there in Rasi group. Bhavarajan Nair sir have almost 30 years experience in the vast experience in the different industry, and we are lucky to have him to host, as a speaker for this day. And I am extending our sincere thanks from the team NIPM Palakkad and all the participants for this today's webinar. Thank you so much, sir, for coming and doing this webinar for us. On behalf of entire team NIPM Palakkad, I am extending our sincere thanks to Bhavarajan Nair sir. Second, I'm extending all our sincere thanks to the participants, Giri sir, the Coimbatore chapter people, Trivandrum chapter people, and other important senior HR heads from across the country. And we are very happy to see one person from Muscat also joined today. So thank you to everyone. Thank you all.
Yeah, Mohan, can I take a 1 second?
Yeah.
What Sri Kumar has in chat, he said youngsters have not asked any questions, and I can see Anthony Joseph sir also persistently listens to all my thought process. Thanks a lot for Anthony sir also. My point is that if the group, especially youngsters, they may think that they need to ask a question, that there is nothing called a junior senior for the learning process. So we should ask all kinds of, even if you assume that there's a stupid question, there's nothing called a stupid. So there is a need for youngsters to ask questions if they want to learn. As I told you, you can create a learning series on webinar and ask these people who wanted to learn, and we can create a, on performance management, but specifically making them to learn end-to-end process on performance management. So if somebody is interested, Mohan, you can initiate. Maybe it may be the first time in the country any professional institute is doing that. But NIPM, if you really wanted, the group youngsters are interested, we can work together to develop thematic learning processes. Thematic learning processes, which is cutting across each function. Take induction, then new terms, new technology, new processes. So it will be running maybe 1 or 2 weeks, maybe 1 hour we can spend. So you think about it and come back to me. Yeah. So always most welcome. And Sri Kumar was put on.
Once again, thank you.
Thanks a lot, and namaskar to everybody. Namaskar to everybody. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, especially for the last offer which you gave. And bye to all.
Yeah. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Bye.
Program was excellent. Anyway, I will be sending a detailed later. Okay. And about his program. really, actually, I was wondering is that some people from engineering, they go to MBA and they make a presentation like this. But this man, after engineering, he has gone to HR. I don't know, but I don't know whether he has an engineering background. But one slide I am going to utilize from tomorrow onwards. That is from Reboot. That slide was wonderful. Anyway, let me convey my thanks to him. Okay. Thank you very much.
As he rightly
Thank you,
said,
sir. Thank you so much, sir.
learning is perpetual and it is for all the ages. We are so happy and proud that, you're still learning, sir.